You're tuned into the VSX Digital Sports Network.
Hello, Las Vegas, and everyone around the world. Welcome to the Web Report for April the 5th. Today is Monday. I am your host, Beam 'em Up, Scotty Webb. Catch the show at the VSX Digital Networks at VSX.com. Follow on Twitter at Webby20MLB and All Sports No Bull. Now listen to the show on the Riffer app. Get into micro podcasting, getting all the information that you need in a quick and easy to the point. No more boring sports talk. Download the Riff app from your app store today. Try Fubo 7 days free. No credit check, no deposit, or hidden fees. Get Strong VPN. Protect your internet bets. Shopping online and meetings. 40% off. Go to VSX.com. And in today's show, I wanted to bring up a couple things. One, I wanted to go over a brief recap of what's been going on. And then two, we're going to talk about two new strategies today. And then we're going to talk about our wager that we're going to make. So in looking at a recap of where we're at and what's going on, we've been struggling here to get started. And that's okay. I mean, it's not what you want to have happen, but what you want to do is make sure there's several things in play. Number one, you got to have a plan. You're not just out there just throwing plays to the wind. And then number two, you want to make sure that you have a process within that plan and that you're following that process. Because if your process is not accurate, then you can always make adjustments to that process. And one of the things I wanted to discuss today was how you do those things, because I made a small adjustment today. So looking back at some of the things that have been going on, yeah, we've been a little unlucky, but we're not going to use luck as our crutch to a poor start. What we're going to do is we're going to adjust the plan. That's the smart thing to do. So over the course of years, you get to a point where you have an idea of exactly what it is that you want to do. And I've been able to be successful in the first week of Major League Baseball season by utilizing what teams have done and players have done over their last, say, month of the season of a year ago, and then carry that forward. So that's obviously what I've done this time. And as we go forward, those are the things that I'm trying to keep making sure that I'm looking at is how do we do these things, and what are we doing to adjust if we need to. That's where this season is different than almost any of the other seasons, because last year was only a 160-game season. A normal season is 162 games. So they played barely a third more than what they did in a blip of a normal season. So in utilizing and understanding that might not be the right approach, what I've done is made a small adjustment, and the adjustment that I'm using now is a lot less based off of what the actual performance was from a 60-game season a year ago, but based off of what the regression models and the projections look like. So today is the first day we're going to be utilizing some projection analysis of the pitchers and some of the things that have been going on. We've got burned on a couple pitchers based off of what they did last year. First one comes to mind is Matt Harvey. We got burned on another one that comes to mind is Jeff Hoffman yesterday from the Reds. So these guys who pitched really poorly in the past did not pitch poorly in their first start. So as we go into the next section here, I wanted to make sure that you understood that as you go along, you're going to have peaks and you're going to have valleys. Sometimes the valleys are deep. Sometimes the valleys last a long time. Sometimes the peaks are high, and sometimes the peaks last months. So the reality is that you're just going to have to ride the flow, and whether you start good or you start bad, understand where you are. And as a handicapper and a gambler, you need to be making sure that you're doing the wise things and not throwing bad money at what you're doing. So second, today we're going to talk about 2 new strategies that we want to start looking at. One of them is based off of now the first series of these games are over, and we're looking at travel situations off of series. So what does that mean? That means teams play either 3 games or 4 games usually against the same team, same city. Once that series is over, those 3 or 4 games, they call that a series. Then they travel to another city, whether that be going to their home stadium, home city, or whether that be traveling to another city where they have to be on the road again. So there are situations where those are advantageous to a gambler. We want to look at first games, not a whole series of those things. So how does that work? That means, say, for example, you have a team that is off of an away series and they lost that series. So they played a team 3 times and they only won once and they lost twice. So that's a losing away series. But then they come home for the next series. If you follow that trend, that's a 54% winning attribute to that team coming home for that spot. So 54% of the time, just be based off of them losing and then coming home, they're going to win that game. One of the ones that we really want to strive for to watch is the home series lost. So say a team was at home and they played 2 series. So say they played the first series and they went 1-2, and in the second series they did the same thing, they went 1-2. So that means they lost both those series, and now they're going to go travel to a new city. Well, there's a carryover effect here, and that carryover effect is something that most people have no idea about. And that is that if a team that's off of a home series, when they travel to a new series, only wins 39% of the time on the road in that first game. So we want to capitalize on these situational spots, and especially now that the games are moving into the second teams that they're going to face, and then they obviously go 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way down to 162 games. But these are series things that we really want to watch because these are areas where the sports books don't look, and these are also spots where, as a handicapper, you find things that attribute to what you do where other people aren't looking to. So these are the things that I look at. And that's a very good spot for us. We need to find some of those spots as we go forward. And another one, and this is just going to sound a little simplistic, but it's reasonable and makes sense. You want to bet on teams that score runs. It's pretty simple. So you don't want to go be betting on teams that don't score runs. So, if you're betting on, say, the Houston Astros or the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Kansas City Royals, those are the 3 teams that are best in offense currently. You don't want to be betting on the teams that are on the bottom of the list, like the Atlanta Braves right now. The Atlanta Braves haven't been able to score any runs. So there's a big misconception a lot of times in gambling, especially baseball, where pitchers are what you handicap. And yes, you spend the majority of your time looking at pitchers. However, there are many cases where the offensive advantage that one team has over the other should never be overlooked, and in fact is a reason why you can make a wager. And if you're betting on hot hitting teams and you're betting against cold hitting teams and they play each other and you have a reasonable line, you have a great wager. So having said that, we're in one of those spots today where I'm going to be wagering on the Kansas City Royals today. I'm going to be wagering on Danny Duffy. He's plus 100 against the Cleveland Indians today, who are throwing a young guy. His name is Logan. He's 23 years old. Last year, he was a relief pitcher for them, and we're getting plus 100. And as we said before, the Kansas City Royals are one of the number 1 offenses in baseball. I think they're number 3 going into it, the way I look at them on offensive floor. And then the Cleveland Indians are one of the worst ones on offense, even though they had a pretty good day yesterday. So that puts us in an advantageous situation on the offensive side. Plus, we're getting a good line value at plus 100. So today we made some adjustments. We also have incorporated one of our new betting strategies into one of our wagers. So hopefully tomorrow when we do a recap, we can have some big winners and we can celebrate a winning day for the first time in a little while this season. All right, so thank you very much. Let's have a great afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day.